Hello, this is Susan Duclos with All News Pipeline. What you're looking at is a screenshot using the keywords on Google for concentration camp with the time range function set to May 1st to June 28th. Now, if you'll see from this, from the main page, the first page of the search, outlets like Washington Post, Snopes, Fortune, Gizmodo, Slate, and others all used that term, concentration camp, in their headlines on June 19th and June 20th, 2018. Now, it was amidst the ongoing immigration debate, but everybody decided to use the term all at once, and the subsequent pages showed the same thing. We're going to explain how they do this. It's not that the word is popular or the term is just popular and all of them decided to use it at once. No, they actually collude to do this, to set that term, concentration camp, in the minds of their whole audience as a whole. I'm going to show you how we know they do this. This is a portion of a piece over at Jezebel. Now, the piece itself is about how transgender is being reported, and it doesn't focus on this one part. They just mention how they got the information and the messages that they were showing. But this is very important. It said that this man posted the messages in a discussion forum of a closed listserv hosted on Google Groups. Its About page says it's an off-the-record discussion forum for left-of-center journalists, authors, academics, and wonks. It's been around for at least 8 years. They said they found a discussion post dating back as far as 2010. Remember that date, 2010, because this is going to be explained when we go back to the old JournOList scandal that broke in 2009 and 2010 of another listserv of left-wing journalists. Now, this list has over 400 members. Again, remember that number too. It says the members include New York Times bestselling authors, Ivy League academics, magazine editors, other public intellectuals. In short, a lot of important people who influence public discourse through their written work. Now, this is the piece I wrote about this. The old group, there was another group of over 400 people, and it was dismantled back in 2010, the same year this new listserv was created. It was dubbed the JournOList. The O stood for Obama. It was sometimes called the J list. Now, back in 2009, 2010, it blew up because messages were leaked to the Daily Caller with a list of 150, more than 150 members' names, and they were from very prominent outlets. We're talking Washington Post, Politico, The Hill, The New Republic, Newsweek, Time, The Atlantic, Huffington Post, Baltimore Sun, Economist, Bloomberg, Daily Beast, Slate, American Prospect, Reuters, Associated Press. These were all, they were colluding on messages. At one point, the messages showed that they colluded to kill off a story that reflected badly on Barack Obama. That was about the Jeremiah Wright story. And it was bringing Obama down at the time, so they were trying to figure out a way to deflect and bring something else up. They were labeling Tea Party members as Nazis. They were suggesting, look, just pick anyone and call them a racist, and let's like focus on that. This is how they collude on storylines, and the messages from back then in 2009, 2010 showed they were actually colluding. And on that list also, there was over 400 members. So the JournOList was dismantled after the huge scandal, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the new list. I don't think they dismantled. They just kind of moved to a different group since they were already busted. We're going to go on to some of what showing how they were colluding in just a second. Before that, it's noteworthy that it wasn't only journalists on this listserv or as a member of the group, but political operatives were also in that group working to shape the news. In other words, telling the journalists or your mainstream media reporters what they should be doing, how they should be shaping that news. Some of those were White House economic advisors, professional political operatives, key Obama political appointees, and Democratic campaign veterans. And it shows here, let's find it for you, that one of those were actually giving them, there you go, right here, Jared Bernstein. He was an unpaid surrogate for Barack Obama during much of his campaign, and he contacted Ezra Klein to pass a message along to the JournOList group members, calling all journos. I thought we got too little love from progressive types. RAR tax changes targeted at businesses with overseas operations. We're maybe going for another bite at the apple this Monday, basically giving them a heads up on how to start shaping the story. There's other examples too. Let me find them. Here we go. At one point, Jeff Hauser, a professional political operative, actually was talking to them about how to shape coverage on a McCain-Obama, the first McCain-Obama debate before it actually even happened. The single biggest thing JournOList can do to lay the analytical framework within the media elite necessary for actual Obama debate win to be viewed as such by a sufficient proportion of media elites that voters know it was a win. These links are all in my piece, which I will link in the description box below, but we've got more to cover here. Have you heard the term Tea Party members are a lot like Nazis? Well, believe it or not, back then is when they created that narrative. The group discussed whether Tea Party members parallel Nazis, and hey, narrative was born. You can find, if you do searches for coverage back then, how Tea Party members were starting to be called Nazis. They discussed how to kill the Jeremiah Wright narrative after his anti-white racist rants went viral, along with the knowledge that he had been Obama's mentor and father figure for decades, by suggesting they change the narrative to label those reporting the issue as racist. This is a direct quote. In a key episode, JournOList members openly plotted to bury attention on then candidate Barack Obama's controversial pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. The Washington Independent's Spencer Ackerman, for instance, suggested an effective tactic to distract from the issue would be pick one of Obama's critics, Fred Barnes, Karl Rove, who cares, and call them racist. Well, I mean, anybody who's a conservative knows that anytime you issued any criticism to Obama's policies, liberals scream racist at you. And is it a coincidence, as I write here, that many of the same original members of the JournOList 1.0 are the same ones screaming now that President Trump is a racist? They have, and all his supporters, of course, are being called racist too. They apparently like the narrative and have been running with it ever since their discussion back in 2009. The point here is anytime you take a look at the headlines, head over to any one of the political pages, and you see every single one of these huge liberal media outlets using the same exact terminology on the same days. It's not because it's popular. It's because these people have a list that they all are part of, a listserv where they all can leave messages for each other, and they discuss it. They collude on it. What is the best popular line of attack against President Trump this week? Concentration camps, it was back then. Next week it'll be a different one, but you'll always notice they all converge on one specific set of terms, and they pound it and pound it and pound it. Now in this piece, which I will link below, I will have a list to the original members well, at least 150 or 170 of them from the 2009-2010 list, it is significant that at least one person that we know of on this new list was also part of that other listserv. So follow the links, and remember, independent media is definitely not popular these days with big tech, so there's also going to be a donate page button below. Click it. We're going to be starting to do videos again. Have a good day, folks.